I'm Tammy Dana-Bashian, Mayor of Rowlett.
And I'm Brian Funderburk, Rowlett City Manager.
Welcome to the October 2020 edition of Spotlight on Rowlett. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Rowlett Chamber of Commerce has worked closely with the local officials and the City of Rowlett to provide resources and help for our local businesses. Recently, I had a chance to visit with Rowlett Chamber President and CEO Michael Gallops to discuss the Chamber's extraordinary work within our local business community during the pandemic. Here's this month's Spotlight story. Thank you, Michael, for joining us so that we can update our community on the current business environment in Rowlett. I would like to start by saying thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work and dedication the Chamber has displayed to help our businesses during these difficult times. Here we are in October, over 6 months since the start of this pandemic, and things have certainly evolved over this time period. The Chamber has been such a great partner to our businesses over these last 6 months. Can you tell us about some of the work the Chamber has been doing to provide information and resources to our businesses?
Thank you, Mayor. You're absolutely correct when you mention difficult times. It has been a rough 6 months, unlike anything we've ever seen before. Like everyone else, we had to change how we work in order to provide the resources and assistance the business community needed. I like to describe it with 3 words: catalyst, convener, and champion. As a catalyst for business growth and survivability and a champion for a stronger community, we had to identify what needed to happen to help local businesses survive the blunt force of the shutdown. One of the first things we did was put together a listing of restaurants and shared that with the Rowlett community. Our restaurant owners had to change everything about how they did business, most of them offering curbside and delivery for the first time. My staff contacted every restaurant in town so we could share their new hours and how they would be operating. We followed that with a new page on the website to share information about retail stores and service providers and how they too would be doing business. We connected retailers with web designers so they could go online if they weren't already. And then we offered businesses the opportunity to send out a free email blast to help them market themselves. We sent out almost nightly emails to every business we had contact information from, Chamber members and non-members, with information from the federal government, state, county, and the city. Information that changed constantly, sometimes more than daily. In all, we've sent over 100 emails that were specific to COVID-19 related issues. Those emails included other training and educational opportunities and additional resources for potential financial help. We offered training to our business community on how to deal with the changes, everything from running your business online to dealing with employees working remotely. Some of the training included how to deal with the emotional and mental effects of working at home or being isolated. Others dealt with how to keep your business safe, and others were new ways to do business. In all, we offered more than 20 webinars and seminars on how to pivot, and 5 on how to deal with the emotional and physical health. Many of those were in partnership with our local hospital, Baylor Scott & White, and with the Counseling Institute of Texas. Others were with local chamber members, the U.S. Chamber, and the National Federation of Business. We also partnered with Atmos Energy for a gift card program that was a huge success and poured several $1,000s into our local restaurants. My incredible staff and our wonderful volunteers also made over 2,500 phone calls to check on our business owners and ensure they were aware of the many different resources. Finally, we have spent a lot of time on advocacy efforts. We joined the Save Small Business Coalition, which is advocating for changes to small business interruption insurance that will help provide coverage for the small business and that will assist the insurance companies so they don't suffer a huge loss. We're also part of the America's Recovery Fund Coalition, which wants to provide additional funding to retain and rehire staff, pay rent, debt, and taxes. Other advocacy efforts included expanding the PPP and simplifying the forgiveness process.
Michael, that's just incredible what, a huge array of services you provide, and we're going to talk about a few others. Many of our businesses were able to take advantage of the PPP, Payroll Protection Program, and I know the Chamber played a big role in helping our businesses understand and navigate this program. Can you tell us a little bit about that and give us some feel for how important this program was to our businesses?
Mayor, the Payroll Protection Program has been so incredibly important to our business community. 675 businesses in Rowlett received help through the PPP that ranged from a few thousand to several $100,000 based on their needs. Many of them would have had to close permanently without that assistance. Early on, it was obvious to us that the CARES Act, EIDL, and PPP were extremely confusing, so we found resources and began sharing them. We held 5 webinars that dealt with PPP and CARES Act education specifically and shared resources for dozens of others. These included experts from the Small Business Administration, the U.S. Chamber, and legislators who were a part of writing the CARES Act. Recordings of the ones we held are still available on the Chamber's website on the coronavirus resource page. We took dozens of calls with specific questions about the PPP as well. So many, in fact, that I almost felt like I could have done some of the webinars myself. I'll add that we also helped many small business owners figure out the unemployment process, including sole proprietors, LLCs, and partnerships.
Another area, very early in this pandemic, we formed the Rowlett COAD, which stands for Community Organizations Active in Disaster. As chair of this organization, you've had a lot of involvement individually, and certainly the Chamber representation is an important part of the COAD. Can you let our viewers know, what the mission of the Rowlett COAD is, as well as discuss some of the work the COAD has been doing during this pandemic? I also think it would be helpful for our viewers to know the types of other community organizations that are a part of this COAD.
Mayor, the COAD was formed to help direct disaster-related resources to those in need in the city of Rowlett and is activated whenever there's a disaster declaration that affects the city. The goal was to bring together the city, local nonprofits and churches, and the business community to be prepared to respond in the aftermath of a disaster. Committee members include folks from local nonprofits, churches, businesses, the hospital, and our infrastructure partners. We meet regularly for information and needs sharing and to discuss new ways to help the community. Ironically, we were actually in the process of creating the COAD when this happened. It was pretty amazing to see how quickly we were able to stand the organization up. One of the first things we did after forming the committee was to start offering resources to seniors and those with emotional or spiritual needs. With the help of several incredible volunteers, including many from the Rowlett Citizen Corps Council, we were able to call nearly every senior citizen in Rowlett for a welfare check, just to make sure they were okay. We also started assisting families that were in quarantine with supplies they needed to keep safe. I'm sure you remember the run on stores for cleaning supplies and the almost immediate disappearance of toilet paper. Many families that were quarantined couldn't get out to get those things, and they weren't readily available anyways. But we were able to find sanitizing products and toilet paper and have those things delivered.
If someone needs assistance or wants to volunteer for the COAD, how do they reach out?
Mayor, anybody that wants to help or that needs help can go to the website at rowlettready.com, and there's contact information there. While they're there, if they have the means, they can also donate to Rowlett Ready to help with current and future needs.
And you talked about you were in the process of forming this COAD, not you personally, the group. You're one member of it. So it's not just about this pandemic. It was something that was a vision after the tornadoes, that we had this organization in place for other emergencies. And so, how will this play in the future if there is another emergency?
Well, Mayor, that's the part of the irony. We didn't start creating the COAD because of the pandemic, like you said. Its purpose is to help in all sorts of disasters and emergencies. These can range from supporting the community after a large-scale event like a tornado or helping someone out after a house fire. In the event of an emergency, the committee would come together to provide assistance and support that could be physical, emotional, spiritual, or even financial.
In another area, the city receives federal CARES funding, and the Chamber was very instrumental in helping us provide over $1 million to our Rowlett businesses in robust grants, some of which are still in process. I know you and the Chamber worked very hard to help us form the program parameters, to roll out the program to our businesses, and to facilitate the awards based on program specifics. The Chamber also assisted our businesses to understand and navigate the separate Dallas County Small Business Grant Program. How important have these grant programs been to our businesses?
Well, we have had more than 50 businesses apply for the Dallas County Emergency Business Assistance Program and more than 100 apply for the Robust Grant. So I would say that they were extremely important. Without this assistance, many of them would have closed. In the first round, we were able to help 19 businesses, but it was tough after that first round when we had to tell many applicants there weren't any funds left. Some business owners cried when they got that news. I'm so grateful that the city, the council, and especially Ed Balderas, the city's emergency manager, continued working so very hard on cutting through the red tape of Dallas County to provide the funds for a second and third round of the Robust Grant. Now the tears are happy tears, and those are so much better.
And recently, we rolled out an individual assistance program provided with CARES funding, and that runs through October 31st to help Rowlett residents in need impacted by COVID-19 to provide emergency rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. You can visit our website at rowlett.com/COVID-19 for more information. So overall, what is the current state of affairs for our small businesses, and what would you like to share with our viewers regarding ways they can help our businesses survive through the rest of this pandemic?
Well, Mayor, we've done 2 surveys in partnership with Jim and Lexi in the Economic Development Department, one near the beginning of the pandemic and the other more recently. We were able to get a pretty good feel for how the business community is doing, and while everyone is optimistic about the future, the reality is we are still struggling. Nearly 70% have experienced a reduction in revenue of 50% or more. Nearly 25% had to let employees go due to COVID. That might not seem like much, but remember, these are small businesses and many of them are sole proprietors. Others are essential businesses. They didn't let employees go and they couldn't work remotely, so those employees have been on the front lines every single day. We've also had at least 10 businesses that I know of that have closed right here in Rowlett, all due to the financial strain caused by the pandemic. Business owners' biggest fears are decreasing consumer confidence in spending and financial impact on operations. We see that play out every day. There are fewer consumers out at the so-called non-essential businesses. People are purchasing what they have to have, but they've let other things go for now. It's almost a snowball effect. More people are working from home and don't want to go shopping, so they have groceries delivered and necessary items delivered. That keeps them from needing auto repair work done and prevents them from the impulse drop-in shopping they would normally do on a run to the grocery store. Things like a quick gift from a local boutique or stopping for a bite to eat at lunchtime or a smoothie. Events aren't happening, so those who support them are struggling, places like the florist and the party supply stores. And even though the governor opened restaurant capacity to 75%, it hasn't helped much because they still have to maintain social distancing between tables or spend money they don't have on plexiglass and other dividers. So yes, we're optimistic, but we're a long way from full recovery. What can viewers do to help? Buy local. If you're working from home, then spend the money you've saved on gas, tolls, and dry cleaning and buy dinner from a local restaurant a couple nights a week. Check out local business websites and social media for specials they're offering and start buying for Christmas now. Use this time to visit with your local insurance agent or financial advisor for a checkup and refer your friends to them. Get some necessary repairs done to your house or your car before you have to start going back to work again. Remember that our business owners and our local employees are people too. They have families to support, bills to pay. They're our neighbors and our friends. Call and ask them how you can help. Let's do whatever we can to support them. And if you're one of the folks who is struggling too, and I know there are many, please take advantage of the resources that are available, like the individual assistance program the mayor mentioned, or contact the Rowlett Ready Co-ad. We have people who can direct you to resources for financial needs as well as emotional and spiritual needs. And one final comment, I want to say thank you again to my awesome staff. They have worked tirelessly to help keep the chamber running, to keep the flow of information going out to the business community and help me stay sane. I also want to thank our ambassadors and other volunteers, and of course the City of Rowlett and her employees and the City Council for truly caring about our business community.
Well, Michael, it's been quite a journey for the last 6 months, and again, we can't thank you and your staff enough, and all the volunteers throughout our community that have worked so hard to get us through this pandemic, and the city employees, and to all those businesses and individuals out there that still need help. There are resources out there, and we're here to help in any way we possibly can. So, and like you said, to our residents, shop local. It's very, very important. And, just so appreciative of you sharing this information with our community. It's important that they hear these details.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are you registered to vote? Local and national elections will be held on Tuesday, November 3rd. Early voting runs from October 13th to October 30th. Times vary day to day, so please check the voting information on Rowlett.com before heading out to vote. All voters are required to vote in the county in which they reside. The Rowlett early voting location for Dallas County Rowlett residents will be at the Rowlett Community Center located at 5300 Main Street. Early voting for Rockwall County Rowlett residents will be at the Rockwall County Library located at 1215 East Yellow Jacket Lane. The City Council general election, which was postponed last May, is part of the ballot. Here are the City Council positions up for election. For Place 1, Blake Margolis and Cindy Gonzalez Baker. For Place 3, Matt Grubasich, who runs unopposed. For Place 5, Pamela Bell, who also runs unopposed. If you would like to learn more about our City Council candidates, the Rowlett Chamber of Commerce will be hosting a Facebook Live candidate forum on Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. Here's a recap of those voting dates. Early voting runs from October 13th to October 30th. Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. All dates, times, and locations can be found on Rowlett.com, including details on curbside voting and interpretation services for voters with special needs. So Mayor, we have another election coming up, the general election in November, and there's going to be a lot of people out there voting.
You know, early voting was extended by the governor, which I think is so important, so we can, extend that time period early voting occurs and keep those people social distance. And, a couple changes happened. The changes where Dallas County residents have to vote in Dallas County. This is the second, that was in the primaries also this year, earlier. But, that's a change from historical voting. So just keep that in mind. If you're a Dallas County resident, you have to vote in a Dallas County voting location. It could be the one in Rowlett at the Rowlett Community Center, or it could be any Dallas County voting location. And if you're a Rockwall County resident, you have to vote in Rockwall County. So that's a very, very important change, and that was required by the Dallas County Elections Department. And then, the other change is our voting location this year is at the community center, and that was moved so that we can make sure we keep people safe in this pandemic environment. Well, Mayor,
it's a really good point, because the last couple of general elections have had thousands of people in Rowlett vote, basically historic numbers for us compared to previous years. And so moving it down to the community center will allow us to stretch people out a little further and keep them safe because of COVID. And so having those extra days in early voting is going to absolutely be essential.
Absolutely. The Rowlett Fire Department has been awarded a grant worth over $2.65 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. You may have heard us talking about the SAFER grant in past episodes. SAFER is short for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. This grant will allow the fire department to enhance staffing and improve fire and EMS response for the city's growing population, decrease transport times, and elevate the capability for 2-in and 2-out firefighting operations. This is the second SAFER grant awarded to the Rowlett Fire Department. The first, over $1.4 million, awarded in 2018, enabled the department to add 9 firefighters and complete the staffing plan for Fire Station 4. The 2 SAFER grants combined will result in a total savings to our citizens of over $4.1 million. Awarded through a competitive process, this grant adds vital resources to enhance the already exemplary services provided to protect our citizens and businesses. Representing months of hard work, we are so grateful to the Rowlett Fire Department for their comprehensive and successful grant proposal. Brian, this is a big deal. What does this mean to the city?
Well, Mayor, currently with the growth in population, and it was just 2 years ago, we were named the 8th fastest growing community in the United States. Allows us to fill some critical gaps that we currently have in our fire department, staffing that otherwise we would not be able to afford at this time. But it also gives us a jump start to help planning for the future, which could include another fire station at some point.
And this SAFER grant is a little bit different than the last one. The last one, year one, was 100% grant contribution, and then it went to 66%, and then it went to 33% for year 2 and 3. This grant is 100% participation in years 1, 2, and 3 for approximately 9 firefighters. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. So it's 100% funded by FEMA in the first 3 years. There's some costs that we will have for equipment and things like that, but the staffing costs, the personnel and benefits and all that will be covered by FEMA during the grant period.
Such good news, and so thankful to our personnel who were able to obtain that grant. One of my favorite segments is back. We answer your emails on air about city-related topics in a segment we call Ask the Mayor. Brian, let's check the inbox for some email.
This month's email asks about boat ramps in Rowlett. Dear Mayor, our motto is on the water, on the move, but yet there are no boat ramps that we're aware of in Rowlett. There used to be 3 public ramps at Robertson Park. They're all gone now due to new development. The pressure on other nearby ramps is heavy. What are the plans for this in the future?
Well, certainly this is one of the most frequently asked questions, so we're absolutely glad to answer this. The City of Rowlett, Dallas Water Utilities, and the Corps of Engineers work closely together to determine the best locations for boat ramps along the City of Rowlett property and on Lake Ray Hubbard. Dallas Water Utilities provides the best locations for boat ramps based on water depth and parking requirements for the ramp area. One challenge in Rowlett is the lack of public designated property along the lake and the water depth along the shoreline in Rowlett. Areas further north in Lake Ray Hubbard where there is land available are simply not deep enough to install a dock, and areas closer to I-30, we do not have designated public property along the lake. We do constantly communicate with Dallas Water Utilities about boat ramp possibilities as we develop park areas for both motorized and non-motorized launch areas. We are currently in the design process for a new park at the end of Main Street, close to Pecan Grove Park, called Lakefront at Pecan Grove. Lakefront at Pecan Grove will incorporate non-motorized boat access for kayaks and canoes, but the water in that area is also too shallow to install a motorized boat dock. The former Robertson Park used to have 2 public boat ramps. However, with the realization of Sapphire Bay development, the public boat ramp to the west was removed. The public boat ramp located to the east is part of the Sapphire Bay Marina and is currently closed while the roads are installed. The city negotiated with the developers to ensure that our development agreements with Sapphire Bay and the Sapphire Bay Marina required a public boat ramp. Roadway construction is slated to begin within the next week, weather permitting. It is anticipated that construction will take approximately 60 days, at which point the ramp located at the marina should be accessible. The existing ramp is not accessible because the property is under construction and would result in an unsafe condition if utilized during this time. If you have any question you'd like to ask the mayor about any city-related topic, please email askthemayor@rowlett.com.
Through federal stimulus CARES funds received by the city, we have partnered with Catholic Charities of Dallas as our administrator to provide emergency rent, mortgage, and utilities assistance to City of Rowlett residents impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to qualify, City of Rowlett residents must have lived within the City of Rowlett for at least the last 60 days, not have received any concurrent assistance from CARES funds through another public agency or nonprofit organization. Eligible residents can receive up to $2,000 per month for a maximum of 6 months, must make less than 120% of the area median household income, AMI, by household size. To be eligible, residents must provide documentation of the negative impact that COVID-19 has had on their financial situation. Catholic Charities is processing applications on a first-come, first-served basis. Completing the application is not a guarantee that the resident will qualify for assistance. The application period ends at 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st. If you need more assistance or have questions, you can contact Catholic Charities Helpline at 214-257-0674. To fill out an application, visit one of the websites shown on the screen. You know, Mayor, we are so fortunate in Rowlett that the city has received over $3 million for assistance that we've been able to provide for our businesses, our residents, and really even to recoup some of the costs the city has spent on the pandemic.
Yes, and we've also used those funds to fund our utility assistance program through the Salvation Army of Garland. So we're really working very, very hard to make sure those CARES funds that we received as a city get in the hands of the businesses and the individuals that need the help.
Well, and in this particular case, $2,000 a month is pretty heavy assistance. We have residents who have lost their job. In some cases, maybe even both spouses have lost their job. So these are important funds for people, important resources, and all they need to do is apply through the Catholic Charities.
And we're so thankful that Catholic Charities is administering this program for us and some surrounding communities. Thank you for watching the October 2020 edition of Spotlight on Rowlett.
For the latest news, follow the city's Facebook page and subscribe to the Friday at 5 p.m. newsletter.
For facts regarding COVID-19, how to prevent it, what to do in the event you or a family member become ill, and many other resources concerning our community, visit rowlett.com/COVID-19. See you next time on Spotlight on Rowlett.
Do you know someone doing something positive or a story that gives you the warm fuzzies? Please let us know so we can cover it in our Friday at 5 p.m. newsletter. Let's share all the good things. Email Denise at dperrin@rowlett.com.